Sophia Chen's eyelids fluttered open like butterfly wings greeting the dawn. The first thing that struck her was the impossibly soft texture beneath her fingertips. These weren't her usual cotton sheets from Target. These felt like liquid silver. Against her skin, smooth and cool in a way that whispered luxury. She blinked slowly, trying to focus through the haze that seemed to cloud her thoughts like morning fog. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting golden ribbons across what appeared to be the most beautiful bedroom she had ever seen. The walls were painted in soft cream tones, adorned with abstract art that probably cost more than her yearly rent. A crystal chandelier hung from the ceiling like frozen starlight. Fresh white orchids sat in elegant vases on marble surfaces. But this wasn't her cramped studio apartment in Brooklyn. The silk mystery Sophia sat up slowly, her head spinning. Slightly as she moved, she looked down at herself and gasped. She was wearing a silk nightgown in deep emerald green, the fabric so fine it seemed to shimmer with her every breath. The delicate lace trim along the neckline and sleeves was intricate, clearly expensive, definitely not something she owned. Her reflection caught her eye in the massive mirror across the room. Her usually messy brown hair was styled in soft waves that framed her face perfectly. Her skin looked radiant, almost glowing, and there was something different about her appearance that she couldn't quite place. Looked elegant, refined. Like she belonged in this magnificent room, but she had absolutely no memory of how she got here. Panic began to creep up, her spine like icy fingers. She pressed her palms against her temples, trying to remember the last thing she could recall clearly. There were fragments, pieces of memories that felt like trying to hold water in her hands. She remembered working late at the design studio, finishing a project for a demanding client. She remembered Emma calling about dinner plans. But after that, everything became fuzzy, like looking through frosted glass. The mysterious stranger, the sound of footsteps in the hallway made her freeze. Someone was approaching, and she had no idea who it might be or where she was. Her heart raced as the door opened slowly, and a man stepped into the room, carrying a silver tray with what smelled like freshly brewed coffee and warm pastries. He was stunning in a way that made her breath catch. Tall and lean, with dark hair that looked effortlessly perfect, he wore a charcoal gray suit that was clearly tailored to fit his frame like a second skin. His eyes were the color of storm clouds, deep and mysterious, and when they met hers, she felt a jolt of something she couldn't name. "Good morning, beautiful," he said, his voice smooth as aged whiskey. "I was hoping you'd wake up soon. You've been sleeping for almost 12 hours. Sophia pulled the silk sheets up to her chin, suddenly very aware of how little she was wearing. "I'm sorry, but who are you? And where exactly am I?" The man's expression shifted to one of concern mixed with something that looked like hurt. He set the tray down on the bedside table and moved closer, but not close enough to make her feel trapped. "Sophia, it's me, Oliver. Oliver Montenegro." He paused, studying her face carefully. "Do you really not remember me?" The gentle explanation, Oliver. Montenegro. The name felt familiar on her tongue, like a song she had heard before, but couldn't quite recall the melody. She shook her head slowly, and she saw something flicker across his features that looked like pain. "Ow! You were in an accident 3 days ago," Oliver explained, his voice gentle but serious. "A car ran a red light and hit the taxi you were in. The doctors said you might have some memory issues, but they hoped it would be temporary." Images flashed through her mind like lightning, the screech of brakes, the sound of shattering glass, a moment of absolute terror. But the memories felt disconnected, like scenes from a movie she had watched rather than something she had experienced. "The accident," she whispered, touching her head gingerly. "I remember being scared, but everything else is so unclear." Oliver sat down carefully on the edge of the bed, maintaining a respectful distance. "The paramedics brought you to the hospital. You kept asking for me, so they called me immediately. I've been taking care of you since the doctors cleared you to leave, but I still don't understand. How do we know each other?" Sophia asked, frustration creeping into her voice. The photographic evidence, Oliver reached for his phone and began scrolling through what appeared to be hundreds of photos. He handed it to her, and Sophia's eyes widened as she saw image after image of herself with this handsome stranger. There she was, laughing at a candlelit dinner in an upscale restaurant. There they were, walking hand in hand through Central Park, both smiling radiantly. Another photo showed them at what looked like a charity gala, Her in a stunning red dress, him in a tuxedo, looking at each other with obvious affection. "We've been dating for about 6 months," Oliver said softly. "We met at a coffee shop in Soho. You were sketching in your notebook, and I was completely mesmerized watching you work. It took me 3 visits to work up the courage to talk to you." The photos seemed real. The happiness in her face looked genuine. But staring at these images felt like looking at a stranger who just happened to share her face. The woman in these pictures looked confident, glamorous, completely at ease, in a world of luxury that felt foreign to her. "I'm a graphic designer," she said slowly, more to herself than to him. "I work for a small studio in Manhattan. I live in a tiny apartment with a radiator that only works half the time." Oliver nodded. "You're incredibly talented. Actually, you've been doing some freelance work for my company? That's how we really got to know each other." The best friend's arrival before Sophia could ask more questions, her phone began ringing from somewhere across the room. Oliver handed it to her, and she saw Emma's name flashing on the screen. Emma Rodriguez had been her best friend since college, and seeing her name felt like finding solid ground in the middle of an earthquake. "Emma," Sophia answered quickly. "Sophia, thank God, I've been calling you for days. Where have you been?" "I went by your apartment, and Mrs. Patterson said she hasn't seen you since Tuesday. I was about to call the police." Sophia looked at Oliver, who was listening carefully to the conversation. "I was in an accident. I'm okay, but I'm having some trouble remembering things." "An accident? What kind of accident? Where are you now?" "I'm at a friend's place. Someone who's been taking care of me." Ow. There was a pause on the other end of the line. "What friend?" "Sophia, you tell me everything, and I've never heard you mention anyone who could afford to take care of you after an accident. Are you safe?" Concern in Emma's voice was clear, and Sophia realized how strange this situation must sound to her best friend. Emma knew all her friends, all her dates, all her disasters. If Oliver had been such an important part of her life for 6 months, Emma would definitely know about him. "I'm safe," Sophia said, though she wasn't entirely sure that was true. "Can you come here? I think I need to see a familiar face." Oliver provided the address, and Sophia was surprised to hear Emma's sharp intake of breath when she repeated it. "That's the Montenegro Tower, one of the most expensive buildings in Manhattan. Who exactly is this friend of yours?" The lavish tour. While they waited for Emma to arrive, Oliver offered to show Sophia around the penthouse. The space was breathtaking, like something from an architectural magazine. The living room featured floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the entire city. The kitchen had marble countertops and appliances that looked like they belonged in a professional restaurant. There was a library filled with first-edition books, an art collection that probably cost more than most people's homes, and a terrace garden that felt like a secret oasis high above the bustling streets. "You love the garden," Oliver said as they stepped outside. "You always said it reminded you of your grandmother's backyard in California." Sophia had never mentioned her grandmother's garden to anyone except Emma and her family. The fact that Oliver knew this detail sent a chill down her spine. Either he was telling the truth about their relationship, or he knew far more about her than a stranger should. She knelt beside a patch of lavender, and suddenly a memory surfaced. Not a clear image, but a feeling. She remembered the scent of these flowers, remembered sitting on this very terrace with someone, laughing about something. The memory was warm and sweet, but frustratingly vague. "I think I remember this," she whispered. Oliver's face lit up with hope. "The memories will come back, Sophia. The doctor said it might take time, but they'll return." Emma's shocking arrival. When Emma arrived, her expression was a mixture of worry and suspicion. She embraced Sophia tightly, then stepped back to study. Her friend's appearance, "He looked different," Emma said carefully. "Older, somehow, more sophisticated." Emma's eyes took in the expensive nightgown, the perfect hair, the luxurious surroundings. Her gaze settled on Oliver with undisguised skepticism. "Emma Rodriguez," she introduced herself coolly. "Sophia's best friend. The one who knows everything." About her life, Oliver extended his hand with a charming smile. "Oliver Montenegro. Very important to Sophia, though I understand your confusion given her memory issues." "Funny thing about that," Emma said, not taking his hand. "Sophia tells me everything. Every date, every crush, every disaster. In 6 months of supposedly dating you, she'd never mentioned your name once." The tension in the room became thick. enough to cut with a knife. Sophia looked between her best friend and Oliver, feeling more confused than ever. Emma, I can't remember the last 6 months clearly. Maybe I didn't tell you about Oliver because we were keeping things private. But even as she said it, Sophia knew it didn't make sense. She had never kept anything from Emma, especially not something as significant as a relationship with a billionaire. The medical consultation Dr. Rebecca Mills arrived within an hour of Oliver's call. She was a kind woman in her 50s with gentle hands and a reassuring manner. After a thorough examination, she sat down with Sophia to explain her condition. You're experiencing what we call selective retrograde amnesia, Dr. Mills explained. It's not uncommon after traumatic accidents. Your brain is protecting itself by blocking out memories from a specific time period. But the memories will come back, right? Sophia asked anxiously. In most cases, yes. But sometimes the brain blocks memories for a reason. It's possible that there was something in those 6 months that your mind isn't ready to process yet. Sophia noticed Oliver shift uncomfortably at the doctor's words, and Emma caught the movement too. What if she doesn't want to remember? Emma asked pointedly. What if her brain is protecting her from something she needs to stay protected from? Dr. Mills nodded thoughtfully. It's certainly possible. The mind is very good at protecting us from trauma. My advice would be to let the memories return naturally, without forcing them. And Sophia, trust your instincts. If something doesn't feel right, listen to that feeling. It's a growing attraction, despite her confusion and Emma's suspicions. Sophia found herself drawn to Oliver in a way that felt both familiar and thrilling. When he looked at her, she felt beautiful and desired in a way she had never experienced before. When he spoke, his voice sent shivers down her spine. When he moved close to her, her heart raced with anticipation. There were moments throughout the day when she would catch glimpses of what felt like real memories. The way he stirred his coffee clockwise exactly 3 times. The way he hummed softly when he was thinking. The way his eyes crinkled slightly when he smiled genuinely versus when he was being polite. These details felt too intimate, too specific to be coincidental, but Emma's words echoed in her mind. In 6 months of dating, she had never mentioned Oliver Montenegro once. The evening decision, as evening approached, Sophia faced a difficult decision. Emma wanted her to come home, to stay away from Oliver until her memories returned completely. Oliver wanted her to stay with him, arguing that familiar surroundings might help her remember faster. I think you should come home with me, Emma said firmly. Something about this situation doesn't feel right. A billionaire CEO just happens to find you after an accident. A relationship you never mentioned to your best friend? Sophia, this feels like a beautiful dream, but dreams can sometimes be nightmares in disguise. Oliver's jaw tightened, but his voice remained calm. I understand Emma's concerns, but Sophia is an adult who can make her own decisions. I'm not holding her here against her will. I'm offering her a safe place to recover while her memories return. Sophia looked around. The beautiful penthouse, then at Oliver's handsome face filled with what appeared to be genuine concern and affection. Then she looked at Emma, her loyal friend, whose instincts had never steered her wrong before. The silk nightgown felt like a second skin now, and she couldn't deny the way her body responded to Oliver's presence. But Emma's warnings felt important, too, like a lifeline to her real self. I need more time to decide, Sophia said finally. This is all so overwhelming. My head is spinning with fragments of memories that don't quite fit together. Oliver nodded, though she could see disappointment. In his eyes, of course, take all the time you need. I just want you to be safe and happy. But as Sophia prepared for another night in the luxurious penthouse, she couldn't shake the feeling that there were secrets hiding in the shadows of her forgotten memories. She wasn't sure if those secrets would save her or destroy her when they finally came to light. The silk sheets felt cool against her skin as she settled into the enormous bed, but sleep felt very far away. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city sparkled like a field of stars. Beautiful and mysterious and full of possibilities, both wonderful and dangerous. Tomorrow, she decided she would start looking for the truth about the missing 6 months of her life, whatever that truth might be. 3 days later, Sophia stood in front of the Montenegro Technologies building, its gleaming glass facade reflecting the morning sun like a crystal palace. Oliver had suggested she visit his office, hoping that familiar work environments might trigger her lost memories. Emma had insisted on coming along, her protective instincts on high alert since their first meeting with the mysterious billionaire. "This place is incredible," Sophia whispered as they entered the marble lobby. Employees in expensive suits moved with purpose through the space, and the air hummed with the energy of important business being conducted. Oliver appeared from a private elevator, looking devastatingly handsome in a navy blue suit that probably cost more than Sophia's monthly salary. His smile was warm and genuine as he approached them, though she noticed his eyes remained cautious around Emma. "Welcome to my world," he said, offering his arm to Sophia. "I thought seeing the place where we worked together might help bring back some memories." Emma crossed her arms. "Worked together?" Sophia never mentioned doing any corporate work. She's always been focused on small design studios and independent projects. "People change," Oliver replied smoothly. Sophia discovered she had a talent for high-end corporate branding. She created some beautiful work for us. The private office discovery Oliver led them to the 42nd floor, where his corner office commanded a breathtaking view of the city. The space was masculine and sophisticated, with dark wood furniture and abstract art that spoke of wealth and power. But what caught Sophia's attention immediately were the design. Sketches covering one entire wall, her breath caught in her throat. These weren't just any designs, they were unmistakably her work. She recognized her distinctive style, the way she curved certain letters, the specific color palettes she favored. But these designs were more sophisticated than anything she remembered, creating more confident and bold. "These are mine," she said, approaching the wall with wonder. "I don't remember making them." Oliver moved to stand beside her. It's close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and masculine that made her pulse quicken. "You spent weeks perfecting these. You'd work late into the evening, and I'd order dinner for us. Both. You said the creative process was addictive when you had unlimited resources to work with." One design in particular drew her attention, a logo for something called Project Nightingale. The image was elegant and mysterious, featuring a bird in flight surrounded by stars. As she stared at it, fragments of memory began to surface like bubbles rising to the surface of water. She remembered working on this design, remembered the satisfaction of getting the curves exactly right. She remembered Oliver standing behind her chair, his hand on her shoulder as he praised her work. She remembered the warmth that filled her chest when he looked at her creations with such admiration. Emma's investigation while Oliver showed Sophia around the office. Instead, she found herself exploring the building, her journalist instincts telling her something wasn't quite right about this perfect fairy tale romance. In the building directory, she noticed something interesting. Montenegro Technologies had only been in this building for 8 months, which meant Oliver's company was relatively new or had recently relocated. For someone who claimed to have been dating Sophia for 6 months, the timeline felt suspicious. She managed to strike up a conversation with a friendly receptionist on the 35th floor. "Oh, Mr. Montenegro," the woman said when Emma mentioned Oliver. "Been working such long hours lately, especially since that terrible business with his former fiancée. Such a shame when relationships don't work out." Emma's blood ran cold. Former fiancée. Ms. Cross. Natalie Cross. They were engaged for 2 years, but it ended quite dramatically about 7 months ago. Something about corporate espionage and betrayal. Very messy. 7 months ago, right around the time Oliver claimed to have met Sophia, the lunch revelation, back in Oliver's office. He had ordered lunch from an upscale restaurant, and the three of them sat around his conference table. Sophia found herself relaxing despite Emma's obvious tension. Oliver was charming and attentive, asking about her childhood, her dreams, her favorite things, as if he genuinely wanted to know everything about her. "You told me once that your dream was to design the interior of a luxury hotel," Oliver said, cutting into his salmon. "Something elegant but warm, where people could feel both pampered and at home." Sophia paused with her fork halfway to her mouth. That was exactly her dream, something she had never shared with anyone except her college roommate years ago. The fact that Oliver knew this intimate detail about her aspirations sent a chill down her spine. "How could you know that?" she asked softly. Oliver's expression became tender. "Because I love you, Sophia. When you love someone, you remember everything they tell you about their dreams." The words hit her like a physical blow. Love. He loved her. And looking into his storm-gray eyes, she felt something deep in her chest. Respond to that declaration, as if her heart remembered what her mind had forgotten. Emma cleared her throat loudly. That's beautiful, Oliver, but I'm curious about something. Your receptionist mentioned you recently ended an engagement. When exactly did that happen? The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Oliver's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, and Sophia saw something flicker across his features that looked like anger before he composed himself. That's ancient history, he said calmly, and not relevant to my relationship with Sophia. 7 months ago isn't exactly ancient history, Emma pressed, especially when you claim to have met Sophia 6 months ago. The memory fragments before. Oliver could respond. Sophia suddenly gasped, her hand flying to her head as images flooded her mind. She saw herself in this very office, but she was crying. She was angry about something, shouting at Oliver while he remained frustratingly calm. She saw herself throwing something, a coffee mug that shattered against the wall. I was angry with you, she whispered, looking at Oliver with confusion. I remember being furious about something, but I can't remember what. Oliver's face had gone pale. Sometimes trauma can create false memories, or mix up the timeline of events. Dr. Mills warned us about that. But Sophia was remembering more now. She remembered working late in this office, but not on designs. She remembered looking through files, searching for something specific. She remembered finding documents that made her sick to her stomach. Project Nightingale, she said suddenly. It wasn't just a logo design, was it? It was something else, something secret. Oliver stood abruptly, moving to the window with his back to them. I think we should head back to the penthouse. Overwhelmed. The unexpected visitor before they could leave, Oliver's assistant knocked on the door. Mr. Montenegro, Miss Cross is here to see you. She says it's urgent. Emma and Sophia exchanged glances. Miss Cross, the former fiancée. Send her away, Oliver said sharply. I'm not available. But the door opened anyway, and a woman swept into the room like a force of nature. She was stunningly beautiful, with platinum blonde hair and ice blue eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. She wore a white designer suit that screamed, power and money. Oliver, darling, she said, her voice honey-sweet but with an underlying edge of steel. We need to talk. Her gaze fell on Sophia, and something shifted in her expression. Recognition, surprise, and what looked like satisfaction. And you must be Sophia Chen, Natalie said, extending a perfectly manicured hand. I've heard so much about you. Sophia shook the offered hand, confused. I'm sorry. Have we met? I'm having some memory issues. Natalie's smile became predatory. Oh, we've met, though I'm not surprised you don't remember. Oliver, you didn't tell her, did you? Natalie, leave now. Oliver's voice was dangerously low, but Natalie ignored him, focusing entirely on Sophia. You came to see me 7 months ago, dear. You had some very interesting questions about Oliver's business practices, and some very damning evidence. The truth begins to unravel. The room seemed to spin around Sophia as more memories crashed into her consciousness, like waves against a rocky shore. She remembered now, not everything, but enough. She remembered investigating Montenegro Technologies, remembered discovering that they were involved in something illegal. She remembered going to Natalie Cross, Oliver's former fiancée, because she thought Natalie was another victim. You were helping me, Sophia said to Natalie, the pieces clicking into place. I found evidence that Oliver's company was involved in corporate espionage, stealing designs and trade secrets from smaller companies. You were trying to expose him. Very good, Natalie said approvingly. Your memory is returning faster than Oliver hoped it would. Oliver moved closer to Sophia, his expression desperate. Sophia, please let me explain. It's not what you think. But Sophia was backing away from him, fear and betrayal warring in her chest. The accident. It wasn't random. Was it someone tried to hurt me because of what I discovered? Emma grabbed Sophia's arm protectively. We're leaving. Right now. You can't protect her forever, Oliver, Natalie called, as they headed for the door. The truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how deep you try to bury it. At the safe house Emma drove Sophia to a small cafe in Queens, far from Manhattan's glass towers and Oliver's reach. They sat in a corner booth surrounded by the comfortable chaos of normal people living normal lives. Tell me what you remember, Emma said gently. Sophia wrapped her hands around her coffee mug, trying to ground herself. I was freelancing for Montenegro Technologies, just like Oliver said. But I started noticing things. Designs that looked familiar, logos that I swore I'd seen from other companies. So I started investigating. She closed her eyes, letting the memories flow. I discovered that Montenegro Technologies was essentially a front for corporate espionage. They would hire freelancers from small design firms, steal their client lists and their best ideas, then undercut the original companies. They destroyed dozens of small businesses, and you found proof? I found everything. Emails, financial records, stolen design files. I was horrified. All those small companies, all those artists whose work was being stolen. I couldn't just ignore it. Leaned forward. So you went to Natalie Cross? Sophia nodded. I thought she was another victim. Oliver had just ended their engagement, and I assumed it was because she'd discovered his illegal activities. I thought she'd want to help me expose him. It was more complicated than that. Much more complicated. Sophia's voice grew quiet. Natalie wasn't innocent. She was Oliver's partner in the whole operation. But she was also planning to betray him, to take over the business and cut him out. She saw me as a useful tool in her plan. The dangerous game, so what happened? How did you end up with amnesia in Oliver's penthouse? Sophia pressed her fingers to her temples, trying to grasp the slippery memories. I realized I was in over my head. Both Oliver and Natalie were dangerous, and I was caught between them. I tried to go to the authorities, but Natalie had connections everywhere. She made it clear that if I exposed Oliver, I'd be exposing myself as an accomplice. But you weren't an accomplice. Try proving that in court. My freelance work had unknowingly helped facilitate some of their thefts. Natalie made sure I understood that I could go to prison alongside Oliver if the truth came out. Emma's face darkened with anger. So they both threatened you? Oliver found out that I'd been investigating him. He was furious, but he also claimed he loved me, said he wanted to protect me from Natalie, that she was the real villain. He begged me to trust him, to let him handle everything. Sophia's voice became distant as she relived those terrifying days, but I didn't know who to trust. Oliver seemed genuine when he said he loved me, but he was also a criminal who had destroyed innocent people's lives. Natalie offered to protect me if I helped her destroy Oliver, but I could see she was just as ruthless as he was. The memories edged the accident, Emma prompted gently. I don't think it was an accident. Sophia's voice was barely a whisper. The last thing I clearly remember is meeting with someone I can't remember who. I was supposed to hand over evidence that would expose both Oliver and Natalie, but something went wrong. She closed her eyes, trying to grasp the elusive memory. I remember being afraid. I remember running. And then there was the crash. Emma reached across the table and squeezed Sophia's hand, and you woke up in Oliver's penthouse, with him playing the role of your loving boyfriend. But here's what I don't understand, Sophia said, looking at her best friend with confusion. If Oliver was trying to manipulate me, if he was keeping me prisoner in his penthouse, then he's done a terrible job of it. He's been kind and gentle. He let me call you. He didn't try to stop you from visiting. He even brought in a doctor who told me to trust my instincts. Emma frowned. Maybe he's a better manipulator than you think. Or maybe what? Maybe his feelings for you are real, even if everything else is a lie. As if summoned by their conversation, Sophia's phone began ringing. Oliver's name flashed. On the screen, don't answer it, Emma said immediately. But Sophia was already sliding her finger across the screen. Oliver. Sophia, thank God. Are you safe? Where are you? His voice sounded genuinely panicked, and despite everything she had remembered, Sophia felt her heart respond to his concern. I'm with Emma. I'm safe. I need to see you. I need to explain everything. What Natalie told you, it's not the whole truth. Then tell me the truth. Right now, over the phone. There was a long pause. It's too dangerous to discuss over the phone. Natalie has connections everywhere, including people who can monitor calls. Please, Sophia, meet me somewhere public. Bring Emma if it makes you feel safer. Just give me a chance to explain. Sophia looked at Emma, who was shaking her head vigorously. I don't know if I can trust you, Sophia said into the phone. I know I've given you every reason not to trust me. But Sophia, I love you. That's the one thing that's completely true in all of this mess. Everything I've done, every lie I've told, it's been to protect you. From what? From people who want to hurt you because of what you know. From Natalie, who sees you as a threat to her plans. From investigators who might use you as a scapegoat. From myself, because loving me puts you in danger. The pain in his voice was unmistakable, and Sophia felt tears prick her eyes. Need time to think, she whispered. Time is the one thing we don't have, sweetheart. Natalie's making her move tonight. You don't let me protect you. She's going to make sure you disappear permanently this time. The line went dead, leaving Sophia staring at her phone with her heart pounding. Emma grabbed her arm. Sophia, no. Whatever you're thinking, the answer is no. This is exactly what manipulative people do. They create a sense of urgency to force you into making bad decisions. But Sophia was already standing, her mind made up. Emma, what if he's telling the truth? What if I'm in real danger and he's the only one who can protect me? Then we go to the police. With what proof? I recovered. Memories? My word against 2 billionaires? Sophia shook her head. The police can't protect me from people with this kind of money and power. Emma stood as well, her face set with determination. Then I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. If I'm walking into danger, I'm not dragging you into it too. Sophia. Chen, you are not facing this alone. We're best friends. Which means your stupidly dangerous decisions are my stupidly dangerous decisions too. Despite everything, Sophia found herself smiling. I love you, Em. I love you too. Now let's go figure out which billionaire is lying and which one is trying to kill you. As they left the cafe, Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that whatever happened next would change her life forever. The missing 6 months of her memory had been returned to her. But the cost of that knowledge might be higher than she could afford to pay. The city lights blurred past the taxi window as they headed back toward Manhattan. Toward answers, toward danger. And toward a truth that would either save her or destroy her completely. The clock tower in Central Park chimed midnight as Sophia and Emma approached the designated meeting spot. Oliver had chosen the Bow Bridge, a romantic location that seemed almost mocking given the circumstances. The park was eerily quiet at this hour, with only the distant sounds of the city humming beyond the trees. Oliver was already there, standing in the shadows wearing a long black coat that made him look both elegant and dangerous. When he saw Sophia, his entire posture changed, tension leaving his shoulders as relief flooded his features. You came, he said softly, stepping into the moonlight. I wasn't sure you would. Emma positioned herself slightly in front of Sophia, protective and alert. Start talking, Montenegro. It better be the truth this time. Oliver's eyes never left Sophia's face. The truth is complicated, but I promise you, everything I'm about to tell you is real. He pulled out a tablet and handed it to Sophia. 7 months ago, you came to work for my company as a freelance designer. But you're right, Montenegro Technologies was involved in corporate espionage. What you don't know is that I wasn't the one running that operation. The real conspiracy, Sophia, looked at the documents on the screen, her recovered memories helping her understand what she was seeing. Financial records, email chains, transfer orders, all pointing to a massive corporate theft ring. Natalie Cross wasn't just my fiancée, Oliver continued. She was my business partner, and she was using Montenegro Technologies as a front for her real operation. She had been systematically targeting small design firms, stealing their work and selling it to larger corporations. Emma crossed her arms skeptically. And you had no idea what your own fiancé and business partner was doing? Oliver's jaw tightened. I suspected something was wrong, but Natalie was clever. She compartmentalized everything, made sure I only saw the legitimate side of the business. It wasn't until Sophia started investigating that I realized the full scope of what was happening. Sophia scrolled through more documents, seeing evidence of dozens of small companies that had been destroyed. But these show your signature on transfer orders, your approval on stolen designs. Forged, Oliver said grimly. Italy had been forging my signature for months. When I discovered what she was doing, I confronted her. That's when our engagement ended. But by then, the damage was done. She had evidence that could implicate me, even though I was innocent. The dangerous truth, so you decided to play along, Emma said, her voice sharp with accusation. I decided to gather evidence to bring her down, Oliver corrected. But I needed help from someone she trusted, someone who had access to the stolen files. That's where Sophia came in. Sophia looked up from the tablet, pieces of memory clicking into place. You asked me to spy on her. Oliver nodded, pain evident in his eyes. I asked you to continue your investigation, but to report back to me instead of going to the authorities. I told you I wanted to build a case that would definitely convict her. But that's not what happened, Sophia said, more memories surfacing. I discovered that you were lying to me too. Some of those signatures weren't forged. You really had approved certain projects. Oliver closed his eyes as if the memory caused him physical pain. I approved 3 projects before I knew what they really were. Natalie presented them as legitimate consulting work. When I found out they were stolen designs, I was horrified, but by then, I was implicated. If I went to the authorities, I would go down with her. Emma stepped closer to Oliver, her voice dangerous. So, you decided to sacrifice? Sophia instead. No. Oliver's voice cracked with emotion. I decided to find another way. I was trying to gather enough evidence to prove my innocence while building a case against Natalie. But I needed time, and I needed Sophia to trust me. The memory of love. Sophia handed the tablet back to Oliver, her hands shaking slightly. I remember now. I remember believing you. I remember falling in love with you, despite everything. Oliver's breath caught. You do? I remember late nights in your office, working together to build the case against Natalie. I remember feeling like we were partners, like we were fighting for justice together. Her voice grew soft. I remember the first time you kissed me, right there by your desk, after we found evidence of another company Natalie had destroyed. Emma looked between them with growing alarm. Sophia, don't let emotions cloud your judgment. But Sophia was. Lost in the recovered memories now? I remember feeling safe with you. I remember thinking that maybe you had made mistakes, but you were trying to make them right. I remember believing that you loved me. Oliver stepped closer, his voice barely a whisper. I do love you. That's the one thing in this entire mess that's completely true. I fell in love with you the moment you walked into my office with fire. In your eyes, demanding justice for those small companies, I fell deeper in love with you every day. We worked together. The betrayal revealed then what happened, Sophia asked, though part of her dreaded the answer. What went wrong? Oliver's face darkened. Natalie discovered that you were working with me. She realized that together we had enough evidence to destroy her completely. So she made a choice. She tried to kill me, Sophia said, the memory hitting her like a physical blow. She arranged for the car accident, Oliver confirmed. Wasn't supposed to give you amnesia, it was supposed to kill you. When you survived but lost your memory, she saw an opportunity. Emma grabbed Sophia's arm. What kind of opportunity? Oliver pulled out his phone and showed them a recording. She called me the day after your accident, told me that if I didn't play along with her plan, she would finish what the accident started. They listened as Natalie's voice filled the night air, cold and calculating. The girl is convenient now, Oliver. She doesn't remember anything that could hurt us. Keep her close, keep her confused, and she'll never be a threat again. But if her memory returns, if she starts asking questions, I'll make sure she has another accident. This time she won't survive. Sophia felt sick to her stomach. So you brought me to your penthouse, brought you home to protect you, Oliver said desperately. I made sure you had the best medical care. I surrounded you with luxury and comfort. I told you we were dating because I needed to explain why. You were staying with me without arousing Natalie's suspicion. But you were also trying to control me, Emma pointed out. You were keeping her memory suppressed. Oliver shook his head. I was buying time. Every day your memory didn't return was another day you were safe from Natalie. I was working frantically behind the scenes to gather enough evidence to have her arrested. The final confrontation, as if summoned by the mention of her name, slow. Applause echoed through the park. Natalie Cross emerged from the shadows, no longer the polished businesswoman they had met earlier. Her blonde hair was loose around her shoulders, and she wore all black like a predator stalking prey. How touching, she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. The reunion of true love. Oliver, I'm disappointed. I told you what would happen if the girl's memory returned. Emma immediately moved to shield Sophia, but Natalie laughed. Don't worry about your friend, dear. She's not the one I'm here for. Oliver stepped forward, placing himself between Natalie and Sophia. It's over, Natalie. I have everything I need to bring you down. The FBI is already building their case. Natalie tilted her head, studying him with amusement. The FBI. Oh, Oliver, you always were naive. Do you really think I don't have friends in law enforcement? You think I've survived this long without protection? He pulled out a gun, the metal gleaming in the moonlight. Here's what's going to happen. Sophia's going to have another accident. A tragic mugging gone wrong in Central Park. Oliver will be devastated by the loss of his girlfriend. So devastated that he'll sign over his shares of Montenegro Technologies to his former business partner out of grief. You're insane, Emma. Breathed, I'm thorough, Natalie corrected. Oliver, you should have just let me handle things my way from the beginning. But you had to fall in love, didn't you? To develop a conscience. The desperate Planalava raised his hand slowly. Natalie, listen to me. Killing Sophia won't solve anything. There are other people who know the truth now. Dr. Mills, Emma, my assistant. If something happens to Sophia, they'll all know it was you. Then I suppose I'll have to be very thorough in cleaning up loose ends, Natalie said calmly. But Sophia had been listening carefully, and pieces of a plan were forming in her mind. She remembered something from her recovered memories, something important that might save them all. Project Nightingale, she said suddenly. Natalie's gun wavered slightly. A Project Nightingale. You told Oliver it was a legitimate consulting job, but I found the real files. You weren't just stealing designs. You were selling military defense secrets to foreign governments. That's treason, Natalie. Even your friends in law enforcement can't protect you from that. Oliver looked at Sophia with surprise and admiration. He hadn't known about the military connection. Natalie's composure cracked for the first time. Have no proof of that. Sophia smiled, and for the first time in days she felt completely in control. Actually, I do. Before the accident, I uploaded everything to a secure server. If anything happens to me, if I don't check in every 24 hours, all of those files get automatically sent to the FBI, the CIA, and the Washington Post. It was a bluff, but it was a good one. Natalie's face went pale in the moonlight. The truth about the accident, you're lying, Natalie said, but uncertainty had crept into her voice. Am I? Sophia stepped forward, no longer afraid.
Nice.
The accident? I wasn't running from you. I was going to meet with a federal agent who specialized in corporate espionage. I had already handed over copies of all the evidence. Oliver stared at her. Is that true? Sophia nodded, more memories flooding back. Agent Sarah Martinez. She's been building a case against corporate theft rings for years. I gave her everything, including proof of the military secrets. Natalie's hand was shaking now. The gun, no. Longer steady? That's impossible. If the feds had evidence against me, they would have arrested me months ago. They were waiting, Sophia said calmly. Agent Martinez told me they wanted to trace the network, find all your buyers and accomplices. They were using you as bait to catch bigger fish. Emma watched in amazement as her best friend faced down an armed woman with nothing but intelligence and courage. But here's the thing, Natalie, Sophia continued. The feds don't know about Oliver's minor involvement. They think he's as much a victim as anyone else. If you shoot me tonight, you'll not only be committing murder, you'll be destroying the one person who might have been able to help you negotiate a lighter sentence. The moment of choice, Natalie looked between Oliver and Sophia, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her. You're bluffing. You lost your memory. You couldn't have set up any kind of dead man switch. My memory's back now, Sophia said simply. And I remember everything, including the password to my secure server. Would you like me to prove it? She pulled out her phone slowly, making sure Natalie could see every movement. One phone call to Agent Martinez, and this entire park will be surrounded by federal agents within minutes. Oliver watched the woman he had once planned to marry unravel before his eyes. Natalie, it's over. Put the gun down and we can figure out a way for you to surrender safely. But Natalie was beyond reason now. No, I've worked too hard, sacrificed. Too much. I'm not going to prison because of some idealistic little designer and her bleeding heart boyfriend. She raised the gun again, but Emma had been moving quietly during the confrontation. As Natalie focused on Sophia, Emma tackled her from the side, sending them both crashing to the ground. The gun flew from Natalie's hand, skittering across the bridge and into the dark water below. The resolution 20 minutes later. Central Park was indeed swarming with federal agents. Agent Sarah Martinez, a known-sense woman in her 40s, took Sophia's statement, while paramedics checked Emma for injuries from her heroic tackle. "You did good work, Ms. Chen," Agent Martinez said. "Your evidence has helped us break up one of the largest corporate espionage rings we've ever encountered. We've been able to trace stolen designs back to their original creators and shut down the entire network." Sophia looked over at Oliver, who was speaking with another agent. "About Oliver? Mr. Montenegro's cooperation has been invaluable. While he did unknowingly facilitate 3 thefts early in the operation, his work with us to bring down Ms. Cross and her network has more than made up for those mistakes. He'll face some civil penalties and community service, but no jail time." Relief flooded through Sophia. Whatever else had happened, Oliver truly had been trying to make things right. Agent Martinez closed her notebook. "There is one thing I'm curious about, though. That dead man's switch you mentioned, was that real?" Sophia smiled. "Agent Martinez, I'm a graphic designer who is suffering from amnesia." "What do you think?" The agent laughed. "I think you're much more dangerous than you look, Miss Chen." The new beginning 3 months later, Sophia stood in the sunlight streaming through the windows of her new design studio. Montenegro Technologies had been liquidated, with the proceeds going to compensate the companies that had been victims of corporate theft. Oliver had used his personal fortune to fund a non-profit organization that provided legal aid to small businesses fighting corporate espionage. Emma burst through the door, carrying coffee and croissants from their favorite cafe. "How's the new space treating you?" Sophia looked around at the bright, airy studio she had designed herself. "It's perfect, and completely mine." "Speaking of which," Emma said with a mischievous grin, "a certain former billionaire is downstairs asking if you're free for lunch." Sophia's heart skipped a beat. She and Oliver had been taking things slowly, rebuilding trust and getting to know each other without the shadow of danger and deception hanging over them. It was different now, more real, more honest. "Tell him I'll be down in 5 minutes," Sophia said, checking her appearance in the mirror. Emma headed for the door, then paused. "Sophia, are you sure about this?" After everything that happened, Sophia considered the question seriously. "Emma, I spent 6 months falling in love with Oliver when I thought he was a criminal trying to protect me. Now I know he's a good man, who made some mistakes and risked everything to make them right. If I could love him then, how can I not love him now?" Oliver was waiting on the sidewalk, looking handsome but somehow more approachable in jeans and a simple sweater instead of his usual expensive suits. When he saw Sophia, his face lit up with the kind of genuine smile that made her knees weak. "Hello? Beautiful," he said, the same words he had spoken that first morning in his penthouse. But now they carried the weight of truth and shared experience. "Hello yourself," she replied, taking his offered hand. They walked together through the busy streets of Manhattan. No longer the mysterious billionaire and the woman with no memory, but simply Oliver and Sophia, 2 people who had found love in the most unlikely circumstances and chosen to fight for it despite impossible odds. "I have something for you," Oliver said, as they settled at a small table in a cozy restaurant far from the glass towers of corporate Manhattan. He handed her a small wrapped package. Inside was a leather-bound sketchbook, expensive but not ostentatious. "For your new designs," he explained. "I thought you might want to start fresh." Sophia opened the cover and found an inscription in Oliver's familiar handwriting. "To Sophia, who taught me that love is worth remembering, even when everything else should be forgotten." She looked up at him, tears pricking her eyes. "I love you, Oliver Montenegro." "I love you too, Sophia Chen. This time for all the right reasons." As they kissed across the small table, surrounded by the comfortable chaos of ordinary life, Sophia realized that sometimes the best love stories were the ones that began with mystery and ended with truth. Her memory had been lost and found. Her trust had been broken and rebuilt, but through it all, love had remained constant. The silk sheets and luxury penthouse had been beautiful, but this simple moment in a neighborhood cafe was perfect, because this time she remembered choosing it. She remembered choosing him. And she knew that no matter what the future held, she would never forget this feeling of coming home to herself and to love. The past 6 months of her life had been stolen by amnesia, but the future stretched ahead bright with possibility. For the first time in a very long time, Sophia Chen could remember exactly who she was and exactly what she wanted. She wanted this. She wanted him. She wanted the life they could build together, one honest moment at a time. The story that had begun with silk sheets and strangers' eyes had ended with coffee cups and a love that was finally completely real. The end.